My favourite Pokemon game is probably, and hear me out, X and Y. I know they're not the most popular games in the franchise, and before I start, I know that the rivals are quite easy and boring, and I know that the evil team is a bit meh. However, the rest of the game I absolutely loved. I mean, just from simple things like berry picking to, mutated berries when you grow them next to each other, to the Battle Chateau facility. You can train your Pokemon up post-game. You got the Friend Safari, you can go shiny hunting in there if you want to. Chain fishing for shiny hunting as well. Obviously the Masuda method. And it's just, I know it was easy to complete, but if you turn your experience share off, it's more of a challenge. And not only that, the Generation 6 Pokemon I think were solid. I mean, Go-Go, Pyroar, Clawitzer, it's fantastic. I absolutely love X and Y.
My favorite game is definitely going to be Red version as well. As much as I've played them all, like they all have a special place. But I think my favorite one was the original Red. And I'll be really honest. The one that I think gets a bad rap is the new Sword and Shield, and I think that's a strong second place. I think just because the elements of the game have changed, and there's more to it now than there ever was, and I think some people just aren't as accepting of that, but I think it was a pretty fun game as well.
My first Pokemon game was Pokemon Yellow because I got it at the store there. And then after that, from there, I went on to get Pokemon Gold and Silver, and then went back, got Blue and Red, and just built on from there, generations 1 through 8, also watching the series as I went.
My favorite Pokemon game is probably Pokemon Silver. Like Silver, Gold, Crystal, that trio, the second generation. Yeah, and purely because I loved how... Well, number one, I love Lugia, incredible legendary Pokemon. But the games themselves, Pokemon Silver, obviously, once you finish the Elite Four in the Pokemon League, you get to go back to Kanto and do all them badges. So there's a total of 16 badges in the game, which is, they need to do that again. Obviously, they remade Gold and Silver, didn't they? But yeah, that would be ace if they could do something like that again, get more regions in one game. That'd be awesome. So yeah, Pokemon Silver for the win.
My favorite Pokemon game is Gold or Heart Gold. I just did a Nuzlocke in that, and just seeing it somewhat remastered, obviously still old by today's standards, was just a lot of fun. It brought back a lot of memories. That game is always one with nostalgia that I can always go back to and enjoy. But the current format with Sword and Shield and where they're going in the future, I think will probably overtake that because it just allows for replayability more than some of the other games do. So I really enjoy what they're doing, and I think my favorite game will probably be one of the remakes that are hopefully coming down the line.
Fire Red and Leaf Green are my favorite games. I love the Gen 3 remakes. Like I said, just growing up as a kid playing Red, Blue, and Yellow, and then a couple of years later we get the Kanto remakes and we get Fire Red and Leaf Green. That was awesome. Plus, I just love Gen 3. I love Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald as well. Like I said, I was about 9, 10, 11 years old, so that really got me into Pokemon, and it really got me learning about strategies and EV training, special physical, type coverage, all that kind of stuff. So that's why those are my favorite games. And just as a kid growing up on Red, Blue, Yellow, it's hard to go against the OG. So Fire Red and Leaf Green are my favorite Pokemon games, and that's why.
So I like the original Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald. I've played Ruby and Sapphire more than Emerald, but I'd say the Gen 3 games, the original Gen 3 games, are some of my favorite games. I played emulators a lot before I got into playing actual Pokemon games. I didn't have any physical copies, I just played online, stuff like that. And Gen 3 games were just my favorite ones to play. I also like Fire Red and Leaf Green the best out of all the Kanto versions, so I just love Hoenn, and Gen 3 Kanto is also really great. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are great games, but I just love the classics more, so I'd definitely say that Gen 3 is my favorite generation.
Hands down Emerald. For starters, the trumpets. Memes. But Emerald just reminds me of fun summer adventures that, slowly heads towards fall. It really takes what Ruby and Sapphire did and expands upon it. The battle animations carry over from Crystal, and the Battle Frontier. That's like the icing on the cake. Because with the Battle Frontier, I first started learning about breeding, stats, EVs, IVs, and just more into the competitive scene, which I didn't really think much of. Plus, connecting to Colosseum and XD to trade Pokemon over was such a cool concept to me. After purifying Shadow Lugia in XD, I could just bring that over to Emerald or Fire Red, or mostly Emerald. And even though I couldn't use it in the Battle Frontier, playing against my friends and having a Lugia on my team, which is super cool.
This is a very difficult question for me. What's my favourite Pokemon game? Because I have played every single one from Pokemon Yellow up to Pokemon Sword and Shield that we've got now. But for me, I'm going to have to go for Pokemon Colosseum. That for me was absolutely awesome with the introduction of Shadow Pokemon. You know, your starter Pokemon, Umbreon and Espeon. Umbreon is one of my favourite all-time Pokemon. And yeah, I just thought that game was just a cut above, you know, when we first got it on the GameCube. I played that so many hours. I got so many hours out of that game, it was unbelievable. But yeah, that trumps Pokemon Go for me. You know, Pokemon Go is awesome as well, you know, like getting people out and about. You know, you can meet a lot of friends and stuff. It's just awesome to create a lot of friendships and a lot of bonds, Pokemon Go. But yeah, Pokemon Colosseum for me is my favourite.
I would have to say, or actually I would think it'd be the red version, but actually I have to go with Pokemon Go. I know it's not exactly a traditional game from kind of the old school like gold version or silver, all those fun ones, but Pokemon Go is actually the game that got me back into Pokemon and eventually back into collecting and eventually having my own YouTube channel. So definitely owe a lot to Pokemon Go.
What is your favorite Pokemon game and why? Well, I'm almost bound to say Diamond, because that's the first game I played, but Diamond does have some flaws. I also really love playing through Sun. It was the first game I played at the time it came out. Usually I play games years after they've come out, and Sun was the first time I played a game basically spoiler free, but that made for a really great experience. So it's either Sun or Diamond, I think. Both games are amazing, but a lot of games are amazing, so I think in the end I have to pick either Diamond or Sun for this entry.
My favorite Pokemon game is Platinum, and honestly I can't really explain why. I think it's mostly nostalgia for Gen 4, because I didn't actually know that Pokemon was a game until Generation 5. Well, I didn't play them until Generation 6. So when I eventually did play Platinum, I think it just brought back nostalgia when I would watch Diamond and Pearl, so that's probably why.
Okay, my favorite Pokemon games are the Generation 2 remakes Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. For starters, they're set in a region that I love, the Johto region. The Pokemon that are available in those games are some of my favorites, and it having 16 badges instead of the usual 8 because it includes Kanto as well, and we haven't had anything like that. It's so cool. I also like that Pokemon follow you around in Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and that it came bundled with the coolest Pokemon accessory ever, the Pokewalker, where you could put your Pokemon on there and take them around with you, and you could catch Pokemon on there and find items on there, and such a cool little thing. And yeah, just there's so much you can do in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. There's all of these different events and stuff that can keep you interested, like the Pokeathlon, the bug catching contests, and yeah, just things to do in the game. They've got the day and night cycle, which encourages you to play at different times of the day. So there's some Pokemon that you can only catch in the morning and some that you can only catch in the evening, and it encourages you to play it regularly. And on top of that, you can battle all 16 of the gym leaders even stronger in the dojo later on, and you can go through the Elite Four again, and they'll have Pokemon from different regions, like Lance, who has a Garchomp on his team. And of course, you've got the big final boss battle against Red. Very cool, my favorite games.
This is a tough one. Different reasons. I would probably say my favorite Pokemon game is probably Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Particularly Soul Silver, because I like Lugia more than Ho-Oh. Don't at me on Twitter. But the idea, the first idea of Pokemon truly following you and, you know, returning to Johto, which was the coolest thing ever, and having all those really cool legendary events and Team Rocket reappearing and all the music being remastered. The Game Boy Sounds little key item you get is the coolest thing in the world, okay? Like, don't even try. That's like the coolest thing. I just love the game. It's great, and having my Pokemon follow me was like the coolest thing ever. And I think that's a mechanic that should come back every single game. I'm looking at you, Game Freak. I'm looking at you.
So before I answer the question, I want to give an honourable mention to Heart Gold, Soul Silver, which are a very close second for me, but I think my absolute number one Pokemon game in the series has to go to Pokemon Black. And the reason for that is I just loved the region. I thought the graphics were absolutely the peak of Pokemon graphics. I love sprite artwork in general. I think they were animated beautifully. And as well as that, it's the first Pokemon game I truly understood what it was to play competitive Pokemon. I learned how to EV train, I learned how to get IVs on Pokemon, how to breed egg groups, and just generally how to build competitive teams, and started my journey into competitive Pokemon, which I started to love now. As well as that, I remember just getting Pokemon Black the day it came out, and I think I must have gotten to the 6th gym the day it came out, and I had to turn off the game. I played for almost a day straight, and I had to turn it off because I thought, like, if I continue playing now, I'll actually have nothing to play tomorrow. I'll have the game beaten in one day. So I remember having to force myself to stop playing just so I could have more to play tomorrow. That's how excited and how much I was like loving Pokemon Black when it first came out, and I still do to this day, to be fair.
My favorite Pokemon game is Pokemon Black and White, the first ones, not the sequels. The sequels are good, don't get me wrong, but the original ones just had a more crisp and unique story. Instead of fighting the gym leaders and trying to beat the Elite Four, you weren't doing it for glory like in the past games. Instead, you were defeating the Elite Four to get to N, and to defeat N, whose sole purpose is to have his ideals challenged, and to see if he's right. He actually had purpose to become the champion, unlike the other games.
My favorite Pokemon game is Black and White. I will always say that Black and White's my favorite game. A good friend of mine over at Buy Gamers for Gamers, where I'm a blogger for, they just picked up a DS, and they were looking for recommendations, and they never played a Pokemon game prior. The only games they played were Red, Blue, and Yellow. And I said, get Black and White, who start off with a whole new list of Pokemon, a whole new 150 Pokemon that have no association with anything previously, and it's not until the post game you get these new Pokemon, you get the returning Pokemon. Aside from that, Black and White, I just thought had the best storyline ever. It really made you question of what is right and wrong. Like, is it good or right to be a Pokemon trainer? Is it good or right to use Pokemon in battles and everything? And it really makes you question it. And just seeing that escalate to a evil team in Team Plasma, who up until the end, really do sympathize with them. You sympathize with N and what he wants. You sympathize with Gutsis. And it's just unfortunate that they end up pulling the tie string at the end, basically saying, yeah, this is just another evil team. And that's the only little negative thing I would say about that game.
My favorite Pokemon games would have to be Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, because I played those games when I was like 11, and so when I played the first Black and White games, I was like 9 or something. I was so excited to go back to the Unova region because I loved the first Black and White games, and so I wasn't really super confident in the Black and White 2 games because of like sequel games, like, alright, not sure how this is gonna go, and I loved it even more. The story was just like amazing to me, still the best Pokemon story in my opinion to date. And they introduced all the like older Pokemon, which was missing from the first Black and White games, and it was really fun, and it has like the best artwork on like any Pokemon game that, in my opinion at least, I've ever seen. So yeah, Black and White 2, definitely my favorite Pokemon games.
I guess if I had to pick one, I'd pick Omega Ruby, mostly because of that Delta episode. I mean, the way they acknowledged the multiverse in that, I mean, it just kind of really piqued my interest. I've always been drawn to theories like that, and hearing that the multiverse was actually becoming kind of canon, it just tickled my fancy so freaking much. So yeah, Omega Ruby. I could have said Alpha Sapphire, but I prefer Groudon over freaking Kyogre.
I would have to say my favorite Pokemon game is Ultra Sun and Sun. These two Pokemon games were the two Pokemon games I remember being the most hyped for. Ultra Sun and Sun pushed the 3DS to its limits, to the point where if you had a classic 3DS, it would lag while playing this game. That was always really cool to look up for me. For Sun, it was definitely the story that pushed it forward towards me. Seeing Lily and her mom, and especially Gladion, on this whole Ultra Beast saga with you watching the entire thing, blew my mind as a kid, and I was awestruck by the twist of Gladion being Lily's brother. I didn't see that coming at all. And in Ultra Sun, the post-game and getting to explore the Pokemon multiverse was crazy. I remember seeing Ultra Necrozma, how imposing and awestruck a threat he looked. That was crazy to me as a kid. He took many times to defeat, and I thought this was what a Pokemon final boss should be if Pokemon ever wants to do that again. It's this huge kaiju that has an awesome Z move called the Light Burns the Sky. That was always super epic to me, and I always loved Ultra Necrozma because of that. I made sure to put on my team right away as soon as I could catch it because I definitely wanted to use it in the Elite Four with me.